Oh, and you sent me, I need to send him, I should send him the thing. Oh, I don't want to join it. I just want it. I'm joining you in my phone. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to copy the, can you send Neil the link?
Yep.
Thank you. And just say 6 o'clock, please join.
And Steve, I'm here too. This is Jen. I'm sharing Mary's iPad with her.
Hi there.
Hello.
Okay, cool. So I said to join at 6 and you're sending him the link. That's wonderful. I was going to try and copy the link from yours, but the minute I did that, it made me go into the meeting and I didn't want to do that. So let's get started. So we have Corey. Who else is on?
It's Corey, myself, you, and Tom.
Okay, cool.
And Jen.
And Jen in person. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So we have the March minutes. Any corrections or additions to them? And we don't have a quorum right now, so this will be for information purposes.
Yep.
Any questions or additions?
Nope.
Okay,
Were those the minutes? Can I just?
yes, there you go.
So I have a question.
Jen has a question.
In the minutes, it still reflects that from last month, and then on the chart from this month for the grants, it still doesn't have any reflection of the January minutes where you guys had talked about using the remaining funds. I mentioned that a little bit last month. So
I printed out that Excel sheet. You were not sure about how much was left, but I think
Here's the Excel sheet that did not print out very well.
right, so
Yeah.
the but it's not, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
so now we know there's 1,800,
Oh,
but we had
okay.
talked about using that
Yep,
remaining
yep.
funds in the January minutes. So
Yep.
it was never moved on.
Okay, then we probably need to do that next month.
because, and I guess two, because originally the $4,500 was supposed to be split 3 ways between the library, marketing, and the visitor center.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of had talked about taking money away from the visitor center to spend on marketing, which I
Yes.
think would cause us to have to alter the grant. or
I
not.
don't
know
think so.
how good they are.
Mm-mm.
But
I mean, we're still spending the 525 in the visitor center. And this was originally for Wi-Fi at the visitor center.
yeah.
Right.
So it's $500 to clean that we gave to the chamber,
Yes.
and then $25.38 we spent on the fixing the brochure
Oh, yeah,
box,
yeah, that's right.
which I can move to a different line item, but I just threw it on there since we had money.
I think that's fine.
So technically, there's $2,174.62 left to spend on marketing.
2,100. We have the 1,800 here. Am I missing? Oh, I see right here. Duh. Okay. Huh. So we do have that much left. Okay.
Yeah.
Because this is what was spent before. Okay.
Yeah. And so not reflected in this graph though is the original like first mini grant we got for like $1,000,
Yeah.
but that was spent.
And then we got an extra 1,000 just out of the blue because they had extra money. Remember that? And that's what I had not realized. And I think that's why we have more than I thought. We got the first mini grant that's over and done. We got the second mini grant, which included the library and marketing and visitor center and so on. And then we got another $1,000 on top of that.
We did.
Yes, we did.
And Neil just came on, Mary.
Okay, hi, Neil.
I would have to look back, 'cause I don't know about that.
I'm pretty sure that happened. I saw it reflected someplace, like in minutes or something.
And I think what might have happened is we were getting confused about which grant we were talking about.
That could have been. Let me, I think we did. Let me look into it because I have seen either the notation of it. Because they sent me an email and I can, maybe there's an email that I saw that I have that we got an extra 1,000. You maybe just added it to that grant. Because it was kind of an extension of the second grant. Because the first grant was over and done. That was sign for
Back to Steve.
yeah, we probably did. And that's gone now. So that was okay. So that was used for marketing. That may easily be. Yeah.
Mary, I
that's
think
what we
there's
said.
something wrong with your iPad. It keeps cutting out your audio.
Yeah,
Oh, it could be, it's on, I'm not on Wi-Fi. Shoot. Do you have Wi-Fi here?
Yes.
Okay.
Search.
Choteau Council?
Yeah. Search to find password.
Is it the Choteau Council? So that one I should hit?
You can use that one.
Okay.
And I think that password is Choteau 1913.
And I believe it's all lowercase, if I remember correctly, right, Tom?
That's what I did.
So, yes.
Okay, I'm there. Can you hear me better?
So far, so good.
can you
Okay.
hear me, Steve?
Yes, I can, Neil.
And I can too, Neil. Can you hear me, Neil?
Yeah, I just don't have a picture of myself. But that's all right.
Okay, there are participants. Yeah, we're all here. But it's not bringing up everyone for pictures, but we can hear each other. So let's look that up next time, because I think that's how it worked, and that may be
So
that.
that very first one was all spent, and the $1,000 one is all spent, as far as I know.
Yes,
And then, so then we just have this third mini grant for 4,500 that has the 2174 left.
okay. And we want to do 1,500 for marketing. Right?
So I think at this point, that's all dog-eared for marketing.
Yeah, the 2,100. Okay,
Because we were not gonna spend it on the visitor center.
okay. Well, we have that difference then, the 2174, and we can bring it up again next time if there's anything else. We want to get some maps or something. We could maybe put something in that, which is marketing. It's just not the digital marketing. So, okay, let's move on. We do have a quorum. Would any other additions or corrections to the minutes?
I move they are approved as confirmed with Tom's corrections for when he confirms the budgeting and all that.
Okay, okay. Okay, it's been moved and I'll second, or Neil can second.
Second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that carries. The next item, financial report, which we kind of
Mary?
went through. Yes,
Can
Did you
I
lose
make
any-
nope, can I make a motion to move the action item to the top of the agenda?
yes, we'll do that for Neil. We'll do
And is
that right
that
now.
the DPHHS item?
Yes, Neil
All
will
right.
do that right now. Does that work for you?
Yeah, it does, because I'm right in the middle of a question and
Okay.
I'd like to move that.
Yeah, we'll do it right now.
So I move that we move the general child care item up to the top of the agenda.
Thanks, Steve.
You bet.
Okay, I'll give a brief summary. Jen, you can pipe in. We talked about this last meeting. We've talked about it for 2 years now. We did have a meeting of the so-called Teton Child Care Project of the people that have been interested. And we had how many people there, Jen?
About a dozen.
About a dozen. We talked about, and at this time, we knew the grant was coming from DPHHS, the Community Innovation Grant. We did not have a copy of the RFP. So we couldn't directly address it, but we asked people very specifically what they wanted. They wanted licensed childcare. They wanted stability. What are some other themes that came up?
Good leadership.
Good leadership. They would love to have a community center, but knowing, and we talked about Chad and the efforts we've gone through, they recognize that that isn't happening anytime soon. But they talked about licensed, dependable, and leadership. And from that, and the other things that we've done, we did get a copy of the RFP. Jen and I looked at it, and we sent it out to Chad, and he kind of looked at it. There was an opportunity to potentially have Chad's building and the renovation of the building be a part of it. That was very complicated, very, and to get it done within a month would be impossible. So we did visit with Heather, and what we kind of, and she knows somewhat, she knows a lot, obviously, from her work with Family Connections and also from Head Start, is this incubation hub. And Jen, why don't you talk a little bit about this? So this was from the child care group, from our conversations, and from then what Jen and Heather and I kind of put together.
So the RFP is really focused on increasing access to quality childcare registered and licensed, especially in childcare deserts, which Choteau qualifies as that. It's where supply meets less than 1/3 of the potential demand. And so Heather really brought up this specific idea. It is also includes what some folks had talked about at our roundtable meeting, and that's the childcare incubation hub and creating a staffed headquarters where 1 to 3 coordinators would assist and then also incentivize potential and current licensed childcare providers. The innovation part is that we're not actually just saying we are going to build or supplement a single childcare facility, but we would actually be encouraging multiple people to do this. The goal of this program would be to establish 3 to 5 licensed home child care facilities and 1 group facility. So that would be, I mean, you'd be looking at like 30 or so kids in that, depending on their ages. So what the child care incubation hub folks would do has 7 areas. They would help create solid business plan. They would help with licensing. They would help with training and providing local classes. They would help to ID locations for childcare. So if someone doesn't want to have it in their home, maybe there's a building or a home available for rental for something like that. They would be informed on government incentives so that they could share that with local providers. We would also encourage local incentives. So there's a lot of incentives for folks who are doing at-home childcare or group childcare after their first year, but often there's no incentives. The first 6 months in, the first 1 year in, you have to wait till you're to the 1 to 18 month mark. So providing some local incentives, which would help them with actual opening, making changes to their home that are necessary for licensing, payroll, benefits, facility management, a variety of things. And then the 7th area that they would help would be in administration and book work. So really it's taking what Family Connections does in Great Falls, although they actually serve a 10 county area. they only have one person who does most of this in their building. And so it would be localizing what what Family Connection does here in Teton County, primarily Choteau, but it's also innovative to open this up to the rest of the county. And so what we would propose in the RFP using these funds for would be, of course, startup costs for the hub, salary for 1 to 3 hub coordinators, the local financial incentives, training classes, and then also possibly working with the high school. We had a home ec teacher from Dutton who was part of the roundtable discussion, and she said that there's pre-apprenticeship opportunities for kids at the high school who would then graduate with a certificate, childcare certificate, and be able to utilize that while they're in college, or if they choose not to, in any other way. So that's how, very brief, very quick overview. What the RFP expectations are. On Monday, there's a statewide question and answer session. And I will be on that to see what other communities are doing, what the general questions and answers are. This whole thing is due June 10th. So it's a really quick turnaround, and they would be awarding funding on July 1st of this year, and it would need to be used by September 30th, 2024.
And I was going to add to this that I think from this meeting on Tuesday, we will get a sense as to whether our approach would be applicable or not. And so what I'm really asking is that we formally approve pursuing this avenue with this framework by going through the May 2nd meeting. And I think at that point, we can certainly report back. And if it looks good that we have the okay from the board to pursue it. And then at the May meeting, we would finally approve the grant itself to be submitted. I think this is going to be, I've talked to Jen, I will help, she will help. I think there's some other folks in town that will help as well. And we do have some people we're looking at and are contacting to be 1 or 2 or one of the 2 people. We're looking at 1 to 3 people, could be just 2 people who would be the primary coordinators. And they would have, it would be a contract, an independent contract with the Port Authority to carry out these, the 7 areas that Jen discussed for the hub activities. So I'm trying to make it quicker because I know Neil needs to go. Questions?
Yep. I have one. So the timeline is kind of the same for all applicants, right? For this grant. Okay. Is there, and this is maybe a little tangential, is there anything we need to do for future opportunities, like to make sure that we have time or stuff ready for Chad or other things like that, for the scope of a project? A broader scope of project, I guess.
From our understanding, this is a one-shot deal.
Okay.
What money they don't use here, they might put back into the stabilization grants, which they took away. And this was information from Rhonda that she gave us at the childcare meeting that we had 3 weeks ago.
Startup grant.
Startup grants.
Gotcha.
So those were at one time available, but this is the money they're putting, they're kind of putting it all in one pot. If it's not all given out, she said, well, maybe down the road, they may do another grant cycle, but that's not sure.
Sure.
This is kind of it, and they've been building up to this. So to prepare for something else, I think would be somewhat wishful thinking.
Maybe not necessarily a state grant, but like, with the there's been a lot of discussions with Chad on renovating the other side of the nursing home or his facility now. I guess I'm asking, like, what do we need to get prepared for future opportunities? Maybe not state opportunities, but other monies that might come down the pipe.
I think that if we can, through this grant, and that could even assist Chad, for him to be able to realize what it takes to be a licensed facility, to assist him with what changes he needs to make, this grant can actually help him do that.
Okay.
But it's not going to put any money into his actual infrastructure needs, which,
right.
There was a very narrow opportunity for some things like bathrooms and railing and ADA compliance that could be utilized. He was looking at like $250,000. This would not cover that construction, even if we had it all ready to go. It wouldn't do
Gotcha.
it.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it could help him, and that's part of the workforce development, the group development. He could utilize the expertise and the outreach that could come from this grant to start his business as the group commercial opportunity.
I have no other questions.
Neil, Corey, anybody?
I'm just wondering if there, and I don't want this to sound negative, but is there any visible downside to this?
Well, we don't find the people that are just right for the job, or they do it for a while and then they quit, which happens with a lot of things. So finding the right people is critical. The downside to this is that maybe this is not what they're thinking about, but the grant does not specifically say it has to be a facility or a business.
Right.
It's just this innovative community approaches. It talks about collaboration, it talks about partnerships. So all of those things we have elements of, and also having worked on it, and we certainly have a good track record for having looked at a child care center that just did not work out very well, just didn't work at all.
Yeah.
Neil, I feel like the downside would just be people centric, not finding the coordinators and not identifying people who are interested in childcare. We know it's a need in the community, but sometimes identifying those people who are interested. So I think people centric is really what it would be on a downside of that. We're not working towards one in the bag project, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that.
And we do
Thank
have
you.
Chandra Loaf is working to be to be licensed. We know that. And something like this could give her some incentive and ability to have some money up front in the incentives we're looking at to get her business on the ground and have some assistance as she moves forward. Because this was her complaint. She says, I don't know how to do all this. I'm trying to figure it out. And it's very confusing.
I'm sure it is.
So what I really am hoping is that from us as a board to have the formal ability to move forward with the grant. We will inform you as soon as we have the meeting, or Jen attends the meeting on Tuesday. If they say that approach doesn't work at all, we're dead in the water.
Okay,
I move that we move forward.
With the
I second.
DPHHS Innovation Grant.
Yep.
Moved and seconded, Steve and Neil. Any questions, Corey? I know you attended, I think, didn't you attend our meeting? No? Oh, you didn't. No. But you have a kid, we know that.
He was invited.
He was invited, yeah. Okay, those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
Steve made the motion?
Yeah, Steve made the motion, Neil. We can't hear you, Corey, but we talked about you.
I know. Now, my only concern is what if the person doesn't exist in the community? Is there going to be enough money to go outside and bring somebody in who can do it?
I think we understand the offering of a salary or a contract, because this will be an independent contractor, just like Jen is. I think we will have that ability.
Sweet.
And if in the end we cannot, then the grant reverts. Say it's even a building and somebody starts in the building and it doesn't work out, then, I think this whole grant is somewhat on a wish and a hope for not only us, but others, but we're a small community and I'm sure they're not going to get a lot of small communities. So thank you all. Neil, I owe you a cup of coffee or something. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Take care. Do well in your
bet.
test. Bye, Neil.
I hope so. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we'll go back to financial report. Any questions on that? I know you and we're trying to figure out the project sort of approach with the spreadsheet. And I think we'll do some tweaks as we talked about. Tom, any comments?
Well, I'll maybe do with the NETA spreadsheet is try to go back at least to that project with the sign and list that plus the extra 1,000
And I'll bring my notes. I'll go sit down again and do it because I do have all that information.
at least have those two reasons to get the
Yep.
project on here.
Yep.
So a little more apparent, and so right now, our balance is 25,545.21.
Okay,
Plus, right now, 9,828.80 for summer camp.
Okay.
On top of that.
oh, okay, that's good news. And one thing for this grant, we have to show is our financial stability, so I would need some of this information from you to put into the grant about what we have, what we've spent money on. But it's not, I don't think it'd be too complicated, but that shows some financial stability.
But I would say that at least 700 is earmarked for
Jen,
Jen's salary.
yeah,
out
for
of that
this year.
25.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, and we'll get another amount in next year because all those promises were for 2 years. Yeah. So financial report, any other questions? Old business, we're going to hurry a bit here. Assistance, GFDA, anything else to add there? Anybody has? The Sweetgrass isn't on tonight.
Nor is GFDA or anyone else. Yeah.
Nope. Jen, your report, you sent it out to us. You want to hit some highlights?
I think that we'll hit everything throughout the rest of the agenda. So
Thank you, my dear.
you're welcome.
Okay, the META grants, fund distribution, we talked about that a little bit. LWCF grant update. I think Jen covered that a bit, but we have been communicating with the fellow at FWP. We're still awaiting the retroactivity, but we're assured that's coming. And he gave us very good news in that we do have cost overruns. Drew has been very concerned about those. In every arena, we have cost overruns. And he said, and we said, hey, it's been a year. What can we do? Is immediately when we get the actual financial approval, not just the letter of retroactivity, we can apply for those cost overruns. And he
That's
said
awesome.
we should probably get them.
That's
So
great.
they're moving forward at this point, figuring out bidding. We had some discussions on whether it had to be state or municipal requirements for bidding, and it is municipal, not state, which is actually better. And since it's all going to go through the city, we're abiding by the city, and they're going to help Drew do because we do have to go out for bid for some things. And so she's helping Drew do that, and Drew's taking care of all that. So I think we'll be in good shape. Jen?
And then I met today with Jody Rogers and Tom Rogers, and we came up with a flow for admin. So that's all covered.
Cool. Good work. So that one looks very, very positive. Tourism Advisory Group, I did send out the minutes. Jen did as well. The one item is a paper map of the Rocky Mountain Front, a large one. Of the group that was there, they represent the museum, TBID, some businesses, chamber,
Wilderness Society,
Wilderness Society,
right?
and
Forest Service.
and Forest Service. Yes, Mike Munoz was there. And one that came up was, yes, our digital map is nice, but people want to have a large look at map where they can see things. And the Forest Service used to have, now all they have is the wilderness. They used to have a map, a visitor map, and it hasn't been redone for 20, 25 years. And they're not going to redo it for a while. But Cairn Graphics out of Missoula has maps, and Jen looked into them. They're large, I think.
They are. They're like 4 foot by 6 foot. They have not gotten back to me.
Okay.
But they're about $17 a map, I think. $16.95. And of course, they're Northern Rocky Mountain front and Southern Rocky Mountain. Well, it's not the front, it's Northern Rocky Mountains, and Southern Rocky Mountains cuts off right at Choteau. So we would need to purchase both. And it does go all the way from Choteau over to Flathead. So it's a big area. I have a call into them to see if they would be interested or could potentially do something that would just be more front centric. Particularly for hikes and things. I know we have that digitally with the rec map, but I know also speaking with Julie Ameline, she has a lot of people who want to have a map in hand as they're going out of town. So maybe it's something that we could even shrink down a little bit, or that people could take pictures of a larger map that they want to use. That's what I have to add.
But we talked about the larger map being at the visitor center, potentially the library, the museum, maybe Stage Stop, you know, whoever has the display ability for it. We'd put our little logo on it, probably the QR code that goes to our website. And that was, of course, sort of the easiest thing that came out of that I think is doable. And I don't know if that's something we want to look into and or deal or talk to Chamber as well as TBID about this, which Jen can send them the notes and we could get together with them, representatives from each on this one. But that's something that we could do this summer if there's interest in it. And it seemed to be there really, people do want to have something more than just the digital map. Second one was the QR code utilization. That the QR code that we have on the signs around town go directly to the map, the digital map. Maybe we add another QR code that goes to our website, and we would like to also put the QR code on these guys when they are reprinted.
And to clarify, the original QR code on the signs takes you to the map on the Visit Choteau website.
Yep.
So it's not just Google Maps or something. It is within
Yep.
the context of Visit Choteau.
But they wouldn't necessarily know that that to go back to the website, I don't think, from looking at it. Because I think it goes to the map itself, not to the Visit Choteau website.
I'm pulling it up here.
To my phone.
This is the link that it takes you to.
Yeah. See, you wouldn't
So
necessarily
there.
know.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
says on
they
the
could
top
look
left
here.
that it's Visit Choteau and things to do,
Yeah.
where to stay, all that.
That's good.
But it's not right. I mean, it isn't like the website that comes up, the pretty website. But, they can go, you're right. And I don't know if they do or not. It's a good question. So maybe we don't need another QR code in those, but it would be certainly nice to have a QR code on these that the TBID's putting out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's something that I think Sandra, Tom, is that right? Sandra's the one working with Jeff on that.
Yes.
So
can
you don't
work
think we
with
need
you.
another QR code for just the website?
I don't, especially I've relooked at it just now. I
Okay.
don't think so.
Okay, then we'll leave it that way. And the other one was a communication strategy for events and specials that people have that businesses can utilize, and that's tourists as they come to town could have immediate access to this kind of information. It was a longer discussion. And we all decided at the group that if it goes forward, we talk about this fall. So my recommendation is that we look at the QR code utilization, which we did, particularly in these brochures, and maybe we take the map idea to the Chamber and TBID. Is that what we should do?
The map and which one?
The map idea,
Oh,
the
yeah.
big map. And little maps. I mean, both of them came through, have a big map and then have a smaller paper map. And take that to TBID and Chamber.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know if we need formal action, but I can do that.
We
One
can't
thing to
take
keep in
formal
mind-
action. So
No, we can't. Keep in mind is knowing, what is it? Corey,
what you
just-
want on it.
Yep. And Karen has it all there. We can add some things. They have them printed. I think we have to add them ourselves. Put something else on the map, but they have these maps printed. So,
Right.
So, and Corey, you weren't at that meeting, right?
No, unfortunately.
So out of curiosity, do you guys get a lot of people asking for like maps of the front at the Dinosaur Center?
Not a lot. Usually what we do is we just give them things like the visitor's guide, or there's a company out of the Flathead that does a map of the glacier area that we give out. We have probably a couple hundred of them out a year. But it's not specifically of the front itself.
so would you use these maps, give them out to people? Or would you like a big
Absolutely.
map? Okay,
I think, I don't know if we'd have room for a big map right now, but we'd definitely give out little maps to tell people where to go and how to get places.
okay. Well, why don't we, Steve, I will send to Chamber and TBID the minutes from this and suggest that I don't know if we can all get together or if they consider, and by that time, Jen will maybe have some idea of how much it'll cost and what Karen can do. And we'll send it to them and say, do you want to do this? And do you want to put some money into it? And I think if we want to put some money into it, we'll have to decide that in May.
Right.
But in the meantime, Jen can be looking into it.
One of the things you might also consider is talking to the tourism regions themselves.
Tourism regions.
So central Montana, Glacier
Central Montana.
Country.
Yeah.
Glacier Country, especially if we're in those areas, and then seeing if they've got any money for that too.
The
I know
problem
that
that sorry, Corey, the problem is that we straddle, particularly with the front, because we're in central Montana, they want to include Lewistown, they want to include Great Falls, they want to include Havre, and that becomes untenable when you're trying to just deal with the front.
Right, but when you're a region, a lot of the times they do have money for projects like this.
Well, they do. You can little mini grants.
That's true,
type things. Yes, they do. And we could do that. That might be, Maggie knows about that. Well, so is Stacia still on the board? I know Maggie is.
Stacey's not on the board anymore down there.
Okay. And Jen will look into that. But that's something, it would be nice if we could act upon that, and particularly get the big maps, maybe the small maps next year, but maybe the small maps this year if it's easy and not too expensive. Okay. Anything else on that? Roundtable in May, housing update, Jen?
So we have not heard anything back from the state yet. They said it would be about 8 weeks, which would be about 2 more weeks. In the meantime, I've continued to get ready for when we do have the pool of money opened to us. So advertising flyers, letters to local agencies. I have the request for qualification for contractors, an MOU with Northwest Montana, and then the term sheet. So a lot of those things, I'm meeting with Kaya Peterson at NeighborWorks Montana next week to go over the wording for the MOU and the RFQ. And so that when that pool is ready, then we can jump on things. Once the pool of money is there, then the next step really would be finding contractors and getting everyone on board, getting word out, getting people interested in the project. And it's going to be a lot of advertising and admin.
Any questions? Okay, childcare project, the summer camp, which we can certainly toot our horn on with this grant that we're looking at. Any new information in summer camp? Nope. We talked about general childcare. I have to go back. I forgot under coordinated reports, talk about the funding support letter, which I sent out earlier. I know all the board members aren't here, but I think, and Steve, I'm going to use your brain. We talked about the bank, Glacier Bank, or what do you call it? First Security.
First
Who's
Bank
gonna
Montana.
visit? First Bank, okay, First Bank Montana, that's right, used to be First Security. Who is going to talk to them? I can, it doesn't matter to me.
Wasn't Blair going to do some of these?
Yes, I'm going to sign them right now. So I will do Lyle. How about, we talked about the other bank, Opportunity.
Well,
Who is going to talk to them?
Blair.
Blair. Okay, we'll put Blair down for that. We were going to do CPAs. That would be Casper and
Swenson.
Swenson. Thank you. How about Lisa?
Sure. Sounds
Okay.
good to me.
What other one we're going to do? Are we going to do the hospital?
Couldn't hurt.
I'll ask Annie, and if need be, I will talk to Louie. I don't mind doing that. What others did we talk about? Do you remember, Steve?
Burke, Beeler and Lee, or Beeler.
Oh, the law office?
Laws,
Who wants to
yep.
talk to, who should we put down for that? How about you, Steve?
Sure.
Okay, that's Steve. Okay, I have these down. I will contact each person and say what they have. I'll send them the letter. If they want to personalize it, they can. Send it off, and then maybe they can even say at the bottom, I will contact you in person with any questions you have.
Yep.
They're not on this list.
Who?
Lions?
Yeah.
Okay, Steve.
I think of them because I'm working so closely now with
Sure.
them on administrating this grant.
That's you, Steve.
Yep.
Okay.
I was gonna sign Rich.
Yeah, he's working for himself with that band shell.
Yeah.
Tell him it's his problem, not mine. Okay. I just wanted to go back to that one. Events, I don't know of any coming up. New businesses. Who'd you contact, Jen?
I contacted Judy Cornell with Conservation Grains, and she just received a small business grant and purchased a forklift with that. She was going to be here if she was able to, but I know with the nice weather, she ended up out at one of her grain silos doing some work out there. I also contacted the new candy store here. She is also starting in conjunction a job in Conrad, so is not going to be able to attend. And I did let Flying Bison know they were invited also.
And they're going to reopen because they have the after hours.
Chamber after hours on May 19th.
Mhm.
So they'll be reopening, they're resetting their store, redoing all of their decor, and they're going to be opening for the season for after hours and then be open for the summer.
Any other new businesses we know of? No events? This Tara Maisel study, I don't know if any of you saw them, I think I sent it out. She did a study of small communities, and we worked with her a little bit on extension things. I don't know if it would be worth to have her come to Choteau or do a Zoom presentation of her findings. I don't know. The report looked interesting to me. I don't have it right in front of me. I think I did share it with everyone.
Do you remember what the name of it was? I was trying to look it up in my
No,
email.
I don't. Well, I'll just put it as a question mark. I mean, I don't hear a resounding, did you look at it, Jen?
I did, it was
Yeah,
interesting.
it's kind of interesting. You know, if we have some meeting where we're really bored, maybe we could, I'm sorry, that didn't mean that to come out that way. But if we would really like, we could. Whew, public comment period. Corey, thank you for joining us. And your little, I can't remember your baby's name, help me.
Luke,
Luke, that's right. I've seen him several times. He's a cutie. You and Steve, I mean, you guys have interest in childcare.
yeah, we do. I just don't know. It's such a complex thing to figure out.
Oh, it is.
Like in driving into Choteau, that's a long ways to drive for Choteau for childcare.
That doesn't mean we might not be able to find someone in Bynum who might offer it, and we would help them start their own business.
Dino Center
Yeah.
babysitting.
I'm pretty sure there's no one up here who really wants to start that business. But no, I'm glad you guys are working on it. I think that it'll be a valuable thing in the future. The only thing that I would like to see is just stability long term is the hardest thing with all of it. And figuring out how to make it so that it'll be a stable thing long term rather than just fly by night. Whenever somebody's kid graduates from daycare, they stop taking care of other kids.
I know. Yep. One thing we did look at, and I think we would pursue again, and this was Blair's thing, you may know this, and since you're a commissioner candidate, going to the commissioners for a mill levy so that there's more sustainability that could help with, because one of the biggest complaints for childcare givers is that people don't pay their bills.
right?
And the STARS program helps them do that, and the scholarship program, the STARS just helps them with their day-to-day needs.
STARS is for the provider.
For the provider, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Best Beginnings
Yeah,
is
Best
for
Beginnings.
the client. Mhm.
And they could get a stipend or a scholarship, but you have to be certified before those are available to you.
Right. And then as far as the mill levy goes, like, I mean, we tried to just get a mill levy for the Port Authority itself. And like, I'm sorry, the commissioners sabotaged that whole thing by the way they worded it.
Oh, I know, we know that. Yep. But interestingly enough, Fallon County commissioners are so interested in this, they are putting on the ballot some mills for childcare.
Oh, cool.
So it could be something that will gain some traction if it works there. It might work other places. That's could be one of the long-term sources for some stability.
Right. And then one of the things that, well, and then I'm so frustrated with the commission right now just because like they've kind of gotten rid of any sort of taking care of people. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
Kills me, but it's what it is.
Having long-term funding, Steve, this kind of goes into your question from earlier. As I've talked with folks all over the state, it seems like long-term funding is essential for any sort of community childcare program. And so Heather was telling us that the statistic is in-home or group, and group can be in a home, but have two providers, so two adults taking care of up to 12 kids, age dependent. Their longevity is 7 to 10 years because it's while the provider's kids are in elementary school, growing up and through elementary school. And so really, if we want long-term change, that long-term funding, which the best place is through a mill levy, is what's happening. Not to contradict Mary, but there was a little bit of a change in Fallon County, talking about the commissioners.
You know more than I do.
So the commissioners had been completely on board. And as it got closer, they started to back off because they did not want the voters to be down on them for going for higher taxation. And so they are actually doing a petition in the county to get it on the ballot. And so it would be a countywide thing versus just on the commissioners' backs. And so they're in the process right now of collecting signatures for that. So sorry to burst your bubble.
I know, I was so hopeful you did, Jen. Oh, that's
Politics, it's all politics.
And I won't say, and it's old white man.
We're not in a real meeting, right? You can say whatever you want.
Well, it's a frustration that just no vision, no understanding, and gutless. Excuse me, but that's true. Jen, I'm old enough, I can say what I want to.
You can say what you want.
I can. Okay, anything else? Thank you for letting me expound.
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Next meeting is May 26th, and we will have a roundtable in May because we should get together the school folks.
The
and-
community roundtable, yep.
Yes, that's on my agenda. I will do that. Okay.
And I will let the board know after Monday's statewide meeting for the childcare, how that question and answer session goes, whether or not it's worth us proceeding, if that's even within their scope of what they're going to accept.
Okay. Thank you all. And I have to thank Neil again for coming on. Good to see you, Corey. Good to see you, Steve. Tom, thank you as usual, and onward and forward.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everyone.
And you can
Thanks.
always take out of the recording my comments, Steve.
The minutes now.
In minutes now, I know, thanks.
Good night.